Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Annabella. Today is Sunday and that means Coffee Klatch. Coffee Klatch is a Dutch word, Flemish word that means having a coffee and a little bit of chit chat. In my case it's always books and today is no different. I had a bit of a mixed bag of reading this week. On Thursday, I went to my dad, and when I go to my dad, I take the train because it's the easiest way of transport. And I have an hour and a half going up to him and then an hour and a half going back in one go. And that's marvelous. I cherish those moments. And I always bring a big book. And I brought this one from the library. It's by Javier Marías. He's a very well-known Spanish author. He recently passed away because of COVID, unfortunately. So this is his very last book. And I was reading it and loving it, really loving it. And then I was around page 410 when I came home. So I read 410 pages during the train rides. And then I realized that this is a part 2 of a story, a bigger story. So the first book is called Berta Isla or Isla. I don't know how to pronounce it. My Spanish is, besides dos cervezos por favor and paella, doesn't go much further than that. And I really, really want to read the whole story. So I stopped. And Tuesday I will walk up to my library. I will put a video of my walks to the library at the end of my Coffee Klatch because they're magical. So I live in a very small village, and the library is in another very small village next to ours. But if you want to go there, you have to cross a park, a nature area that is conserved, and there are no cars allowed there. So you can walk and enjoy nature. There are swans in the river. There are lots of wildlife. There are still a little bit of farmers, but they have to take care of the land in a very environment-friendly way. Even the way they keep their animals is very highly regulated. So for instance, if they have cows, they are not allowed to take away the calf from the cow. They have to grow up with their mother and they have to go outside as much as possible. Mostly those cows are beautiful, beautiful. You can see that they are relaxed and happy. And so Tuesday I go back to the library together with little Muffin, who is lying next to me. And we will get the first part of this book. What is the story about, the larger story? So this is set in the 90s. And Berta Isla and Thomas Nevinson were a couple. Berta was Basque. Thomas Nevinson, I think, was Irish or English, or well, Spanish-English, that's the word. And they both had a bit of a shady past in the sense that they both worked for either IRA or IRA or ETA, the Basque movement. And what I have now learned is that they've asked Thomas to find a woman who committed an attack, a bomb attack, and a couple of years ago. And there are 3 women he has to investigate, and one of them is his wife. The first book is her version of the story, and the second is his. So I don't want to finish this book because I don't want to know how it ends. And that's why I will read Berta first and then Thomas, the end of Thomas next. From what I can say now is, it is amazing. It's a really good story. It is very fast-paced. It is literature. It's not a thriller. It is pure literature. It is very, very, very well written, very well done, very atmospheric and beautifully done. Beautiful. So it's not a cheap thriller. Then another book that I've read and that I thoroughly enjoyed is The Paris Bookseller by Kerri Maher. The Paris Bookseller tells the story of Sylvia Beach, who had that famous bookstore in the 20s named Shakespeare and Company. The bookstore name still exists, but it has nothing to do with what Sylvia Beach has started. It's not even situated in the same place, so it has really nothing to do with it. I didn't know that. But anyway, she founded Shakespeare and Company. And she was the first who had an American book shop in Paris, but it was not only to sell books, it was also a library. People like Gertrude Stein came there. Very, very famous authors all were there and were her friends, or more or less her friends. Also James Joyce. James Joyce was in the middle of writing Ulysses. And she was blinded by his talent. She was in love with his talent, not in love with a man because she had a girlfriend, but she was blinded by his talent. And she did everything to publish Ulysses because nobody else wanted to. He couldn't find any publisher because of the context of the content of Ulysses. It was very. I have never read a Ulysses. I'm not planning to read Ulysses, but apparently it's very sexual and everything, and or it was perceived as very sexual in those days, in the 20s. So she gave him money to finish his story. She published it, and she did everything for him, absolutely everything, and then he betrayed her. So this is a fictionalized biography. It is not a biography, it is fictionalized, but it's a very good read and very interesting. And I really, really enjoyed it. I will read more by Kerri Maher. I absolutely loved it. I also finished a buddy read with Micah Cummins. Micah Cummins started this month reading Dr. Zhivago. And I also have a Dutch copy by Boris Pasternak. This is the copy. And I said, oh, it has been ages. I think I was 15 or so since I've read that. Then that was my Russian period, my Russian era. And so yeah, I really wanted him to join to read. And then I started reading it, and this version was a translation from 2009, and then I found a translation in Dutch from 2015, so I switched to that one because I didn't like that version. But the one of 2015 wasn't better, and it felt very, very rushed. I understand why. You have to know that there are only 16 million people that speak Dutch, not counting the people from South Africa who speak Afrikaans, the people from Suriname. I don't even count those. Only Flanders and the Netherlands. So not everybody reads. So if 10% reads, that's only 1.6 million people. but not, and then maybe 10% of those 10% will maybe read Dr. Zhivago. So your pool is very small. So I believe that for a text like Dr. Zhivago, written by Boris Pasternak, to translate that, I don't think there was a lot of money. And I don't think the translator had enough time to finish this book like the way he wanted to. So yeah, that's one thing that held me back. And although I love the story of Dr. Zhivago. So Dr. Zhivago, he was from a well-off family, but his father lost all of their money. He is a very good doctor, and he has a wife, and then the Russian Revolution starts. Everything becomes insecure. They have a lot of hunger. Then he meets another woman, and then he falls in love with her, and then he sends her off, and it's a sort of a ménage à trois. It's a beautiful story in a way, and it's also a story about the Russian Revolution and the wars and everything that's around it, and that is magnificent. But in this case, the film is much better than the book, to me. Maybe that's because of the translation, because it annoyed me enormously. He used words like poem. That doesn't exist in Dutch. It's a gedicht. Things like that is very annoying, but I know what it's like when you're in a rush. You know what the translation is of a poem, but it doesn't cross your mind right away, so you continue typing and then you forget about it, and then you don't see it when you revise it. It happens, but there were a lot of mistakes like that. But his attention to detail was far too big, of Boris Pasternak. I only gave it 3 stars. There was so much detail in the story that you hardly could notice the bigger picture, the bigger story, the beautiful story that he actually wants to tell. And I understand why it was very important during the 50s and 60s because of the Cold War, and why Boris Pasternak received his Nobel Prize in Literature. I understand why, but it didn't age well for me. To me, or how you call it, So yeah, that didn't go very well. Then I read a book. Keep calm, keep calm. So last week, Friday, I posted top 10 of historical fiction, which was a bit random, but I mentioned that one book or one author, Ken Follet, and I said that he won't be in the list, but still people talked about him in the comments. And I said, well, let me read Pillars of the Earth. Oh my God, how can this have such a high rating? How can that book have a higher rating than Wolf Hall? Seriously. It is such crap. I'm sorry, but it's so bad. I didn't know you can write in real time almost. The story starts off like this. Tom the Builder has a wife, 2 children. Wife is highly pregnant. He loses his job, so he has to move to other villages to look for a work as a builder. He wants to be a master builder. He wants to build a cathedral. Kudos to him. Then, they have a lot of hardship on their way. They're hungry, and then they are in the middle of the woods, and the woman gives birth. Just before that, like a couple of miles before that, they briefly encounter a woman and her son. The woman is apparently quite cute. Nevertheless, they meet for 15 minutes and then off they go. Then the woman gives birth. The woman dies after birth. The child lives. The other woman suddenly pops up out of nowhere, and he has sex with that woman while his wife was literally still warm. Rigor mortis wasn't even set in. His children were there. And he was humping already the other wife. Anyway, and then they leave the baby behind, and then he feels a little remorseful. Not too much, a little. And then they go look for the baby again, and then they see that some monks have taken the baby, and anyway. And then all the men, or most of the men, all the men are potential rapists. I'm maybe a little bit of a feminist, but I'm not a man-hater. I don't think that every man is a potential rapist. I think some men are really decent people, like my brothers, for instance. Like many booktubers, I think they are pretty decent people. But anyway, and the way the story is told, like, I was thinking, is this YA or something? Is this for young adults or for children? Because he takes us literally by the hands, like we are children that don't know anything about history. Maybe a lot of readers don't, I do. But it's so ridiculously done. It is not very accurate. You feel that he has studied a lot around building, and that's why there's so many building sequences, because it's a building the cathedral, and then something happened, and maybe we can't build the cathedral, and then something good happens, and we're building, then something else happens. We might not finish the cathedral, and then something good happens, and build. That's the gist of the story. Apparently, Ken Follet was also a thriller author, and you can feel that. I can really feel that he is very much of a planner. So you have two types of authors. You have authors who only know the big picture, and they know where the story is going, more or less. When they start, they have a vision of the characters, and then they let the characters have a life of their own. It's very difficult to explain, because when you are writing a character, you're typing, and you go into that flow, and suddenly your character does something that you are surprised. And that's a magical moment. As an author, that's magical if that happens. But if you're very much a planner, so before you start writing your book, you write out a whole layout. So you already decide this will happen, that, then you will meet this and that. And I've really felt the planning, and I don't like that. I need a book that is written from the belly, not from the head, not with your mind. Give me a book that is written from the belly, and then we can talk. Then I'm your girl. You can do whatever you like in your book. You can be mean. You can be atrocious. You can be sweet and not too super sweet though. I won't let myself carry it away. But anyway. What else? This is a book that I bought for my Brussels book club. There's an English-speaking female book club, and in Brussels, and they chose, this is one of the books they chose, and I wasn't there when they chose it, and I'm really happy because the list is amazing, truly amazing. And this is Returning to Reims by French author Didier Ebiron, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is about a gay man who, after 20 years, goes back to his hometown and realizes that although you leave a town, in a way the town never leaves you, and you are, the result of your upbringing and of your environment when you were little and what happened to you. And he comes to, he faces whatever happened there. I'm really looking forward to reading this. Apparently it's really beautiful and I'm looking forward to it. So apparently, to Steve Poole from The Guardian, it says, brilliant, a virtuosic memoir of sexual awakening and of childhood within a French working class that now seems to have deserted the left. Okay, in France, working class is left, was very left, and now it becomes more and more up to the right. So there's also a blurb of Hilary Mantel, a deeply intelligent and searching book, one that makes you reconsider the narrative of your own life. Didier Ebiron understands how deep roots of inequality go. And then Edouard Louis, The End of Eddie. I'm very fond of Edouard Louis, and so is Bob de Booker. I was overwhelmed by this book. I felt I was reading the story of my life. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book. For my from the shelves of Hitchcock, I will start reading 39 Steps. I will do this today, the 39 Steps. I'm looking forward to this because it's one of my favorite Hitchcock movies. I always think of the man coming down from the stairs with the one finger missing and with the light, and I'm such a Hitchcock fan, although not from the man, his work. And this is written by John Buchan, and I will do a review of it together with the Lodger. I will do a monthly review just for the books that Hitchcock based his films on. So I will always go per two. So I think that's manageable. Also, what I brought from the library was this one by Elsa Morante, and it is translated into English. Elsa Morante died in 1995, and this is the story of an old villa somewhere on the island of Procida. Lives a boy with his dad. Arturo doesn't go to school and lives in the wild nature of the island. And at night he reads books about travelers and the mysterious East from the library of his dad. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I couldn't hold myself back, so I bought a book. I bought How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So I will read this definitely till Wednesday. So Wednesday you can have feedback on this book. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I wish you a very beautiful end of the weekend, a great working week, and I hope for everybody all the best. Brandon, I'm thinking of you. I hope you find a job soon. I'm really rooting for you. Micah, thanks to you for the buddy reads. And Elisabeth from Buchan and Books. On the 14th of January, so that's this Tuesday, we will post our Zoom chat we had about Dangerous Liaisons. It was super engaging, super fun, very interesting, and it will be nice to watch. So that's it. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice week. Bye-bye.